What's up, everybody? It is Thursday, September 29th, and today we are going to be talking about how we can become better communicators with children, especially school-age children who have a ton going on. And so this is exciting because I have a childhood behavioral therapist and specialist, Bobbi Decker, here. She is part of our Amare team and really has been recruiting lots of people who have children who struggle with focus, who struggle with communication, who struggle with all kinds of just additional concerns when they are when they're in school and they're trying to learn and everything. So how many of you, is this your very first meeting that you have been to? Is anybody brand new around here? We would love to see you, get to know you, all of the things. And so start us out, Bobbi, and let's just unmute. I'll ask you to unmute, and then let's just start out by talking about like what is like normal childhood development? Like what actually are we looking at? Because I think children are so diverse that it can be hard to identify what is normal and what is potentially concerning.
And that's a very valid point because I like to tell all of my people there's no such thing as normal because everybody is so significantly different when you're talking about typically functioning people and atypically functioning people. Like everybody is an individual,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way to classify something as normal. What happens is, at various ages, we have milestones that we typically meet. And if we're meeting those milestones within a relative timeline, they call that normal. So if that's what you want to call normal, that's fine. But I don't like that whole comparison game because I know children who didn't talk until they were 3 and became doctors. I know children who started talking before they were the age of 1 and aren't doctors. You know, there's no real way to measure normal. That's a terrible, terrible word.
Okay, well, so what's a better word, and how do I'm just trying to put some parameters around, like, what do you consider those like things that you go, ooh, something's off here. Something's
Gotcha.
not adding up.
So a lot of times we'll have things like, the like again the milestones, the walking, the talking, the cognition, the social emotional development, those kind of things. And so if your child looks like they're typically functioning, and then all of a sudden they experience a loss of some sort, like they were walking and then they weren't, or they were talking in full sentences and then it became segments, or you know, you could drop them off at the babysitter and then you couldn't, or they were doing really well in school and then they weren't. So like you can gauge things. It's being able to monitor where they are, where they were, where you think they should be going, and how well they're making those benchmarks.
Okay, so that regression, it sounds like, is a pretty important thing. And so I would love to kind of just take a deep dive into more of like the physiology of all of this, because bad behaviors and like changes in behavior are triggered by something
They
has
happen for a
happened.
reason.
Right, so what do you think the most common causes of these bad behaviors? Like, where do these changes in behaviors arise in kids?
Most of the time, I mean, sometimes it's environmental and sometimes it's biological. So you again have to be able to monitor your child. And I tell parents all the time, you know your child better than anybody else on the planet. So watch for those changes. So a lot of times what I will tell parents is, or what I'll ask parents is, how's your child's diet? What do they do during downtime? How much do they sleep? Are they drinking water? Um, you know, have there been any environmental changes? Like, has there been a big move? Did your husband get deployed? Or did you start a new job? Or do they have a new babysitter? Like, it could be any number of things. So, were there problems before with, a lot of times there will be physiological distress, like the child has diarrhea or they can't go to the bathroom. Is that new or is that ongoing?
Mhm.
Um, some kids are more high strung than others, so there's a little bit more sensitivity. Sometimes there are tactile issues that you need to watch for. So I mean, it's a whole realm of possibilities that you have to be paying attention to begin with, and then you can pinpoint and narrow down.
Okay, so this may seem like a very novice question, but why is change so much more difficult for children than it is typically for adults?
Because they don't understand it. They don't know, like, fear of the unknown at any age is terrifying
Hmm.
for most people. Um, you, if you think about it, if you're changing your job, you typically get anxiety about things like that because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what to expect from your boss. You don't know what to expect from your coworkers. You don't know what to expect from anything. So you have that level of anxiety, but you still have a frame of reference. You have a history that you can pull from. So children don't have that frame of reference. And if we're not talking to our children, they don't know. They
Hmm.
just know that the house is full of boxes. They're saying mommy and daddy are saying we're moving to a new house, and I'm just supposed to accept that. Or they're changing schools, or they're changing grades. Going from seventh to eighth grade, or second grade to third grade. You have new teachers. You don't know if you're going to have the same people in your class. You don't know if you're going to know anybody. You think that you're starting over again, and then you have very limited frame of reference. So it can cause a lot of anxiety.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So you said a minute ago, if you're not communicating with your kids, right? And that's what this whole everything we're doing today is like, how can we become better communicators with our kids? And then, really, how can we use the Amare supplements to help them become better communicators as well? So you've talked to us because I think for a lot of people, you sit back and you just go, well, I told them that we were moving and that we're going to a new house, and I told them what was going on. So, what is the next level? Like, what's the better approach?
Okay, so the thing that I like to tell my parents again is, just because you think you did something doesn't mean you did. So you have to, what you think you said isn't necessarily what they heard.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes there is, we're moving. What does moving mean? If I don't know what moving means, I might as well have not said anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it, you have to figure out what your child knows and then go from there. Um, you talk about things, breaking things down into smaller, more manageable pieces is key. Um, smaller, more manageable pieces of information and or steps. So we're moving means we're getting a new house. We're going to another state. It's going to be far, far away. Here's a map. This is what it looks like. We're going to go to this place on the map. It's going to take a long time to drive in the car, but we're going to take everything from your room and we're going to put it in a box. And when we get there, we're going to put it in your brand new room. Like, you make it exciting for them, even if you're dreading it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you talk about where you're going. What does that look like? What color are the walls going to be? You get to pick out your own colors of your walls. All of your stuff is going to be there. Your brother's going to be there. Your sister's going to be there. I'm going to be there, because we're moving doesn't necessarily mean everybody's coming with
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to break it down into what they understand. I've said things to my 17-year-old and I've said, "Hey, this is the thing." And she said, "Oh, I didn't know that's what you meant by that." and I'm like, ah, bam, I
Yeah,
should know better.
right.
But
Well,
I
you
don't, because I
yeah.
just expected that she knew it. She
Well, and
didn't.
it's what we talked about on our Monday team call as well. It's just like you can should yourself all day long, but there's no need. So just replace should with could. Like I could have communicated more effectively, but I didn't. And so I know. So one of the products that Amare has that a lot of parents really swear by is Kids Mood Plus, and I love Kids Mood Plus. I take it inside of Kids Mood Plus. You have saffron, you have rosemary, but where it really shines is when children are having meltdowns, right? And children having meltdowns is not easy. And one of the reasons I think it's not super easy is because as an adult, you kind of don't know what to do. But what are some communication tactics that can be used like in the midst of a total meltdown? And then we can dive a little bit deeper into the science behind Kids Mood Plus.
Sure. Well, first of all, again, know your kid. Meltdown can be many different levels of many different things for many different reasons. So, usually it's a fear based response. Sometimes it's not. But sometimes I don't know what's going on. I'm not doing that, and you can't make me. And you're right. You can't make a kid talk. You can't make them walk. You can't make them do anything. So what you want to do is figure out what the reinforcers for that child are.
Mhm.
So does your child like a lot of attention from you? Do they like movies? Do they like carrots? Do they like, some other thing? Time with the puppy? Do they like to go outside? Figure out what that is, or what those are, and come up with as many as you possibly can. When you're in the midst of a meltdown, whether you be in the grocery store or in your living room or at school, what you need to do is figure out. Sometimes you just need to stop. Stop crying, stop crying. What do you want? What do you want? Tell me. Let's talk about it. You're not going to have a conversation at that point in time, because if you think about it, when you are having meltdown, the last thing you want to do is have a conversation about it. You
Mhm.
need to slow it down and process. So, a lot of times what works is to give choices. Do you want to drink a water, or do you want a Kids Mood Plus?
Yeah,
When
I
you're
I love that my friend taught me that with her toddler. It's not like, okay, it's time to go get down off of the thing. It's which way would you like to get off of the playground equipment? Would you like me to take you down, or would you like to jump? And so,
right.
yeah, exactly. I love it.
Yes. And you have to make sure that the choices that you give, one, you're giving two choices, not 10.
Right.
And two, you want them to be choices of things that you want to happen.
Yes,
So,
exactly. I feel
so
like
you
this is
need
a
to make
great
sure.
tactic for adults as well, just
It's true.
yeah.
It's true. I used to train horses, and back in the day, it's funny because they were like, "How do you get that 1,000-pound animal to do what you want it to do? You're
Hmm.
not making a horse do anything,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know." So you figure out, what can I make this horse do? I'm gonna make you won't go right, so I'm gonna make you go left until you go right. you
Yeah.
know.
Uh-huh.
So you just have to figure out, what can I get them to do, and how can I get them to do it? If they feel like they're in control, they're more apt to do it.
Hmm.
Especially if you can make it fun. Your example was perfect. Would you like to climb down? Would you like me to help you down? Would you like me to help you down, or would you like to jump?
Right.
Because jumping is a fun thing, but it gets them down.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So the choice is the only thing we actually have control over. Yes, absolutely. And what Bobby is mentioning as far as like in a kid kind of in a meltdown, and it being important not for us not to engage with that meltdown. We have a colloquialism of they just flipped, right? And literally That is what is happening in your brain. You have flipped from your conscious prefrontal cortex into your limbic system, where your fear factories are housed. And the fear factory is basically communicating with your prefrontal cortex, saying, like, you've got to say, you know, this, that, the other, whatever. And but really and truly what you need to do is stop, literally stop. I mean, I love, you know, we've learned a lot from Deb Erickson on these, on our calls, about like the importance of when you start getting into patterns of bad thinking, we simply must stop. We must just stop. And so that is very important. And the thing I really like about Kids Mood Plus is it can help us to flip that switch again, right? So it helps to normalize. So it has the saffron in it that I mentioned, which helps to normalize serotonin and dopamine activities. It also can help to reduce cellular damage, which, I mean, Bobbi, you'll have to go into just how important like nervous system inflammation and cellular damage is to the development of the bad behaviors in kids, the lack of focus, the lack of connection, the lack of just desire to excel, you know, is there. And so when we're able also to reduce cortisol using saffron in the Kids Mood Plus, that is also going to help with that flipping. That flipping is really important when it comes to getting kids into their right mind, into that prefrontal cortex, instead of into the limbic system. And then the second thing that is in Kids Mood Plus is holy basil. And the basil that's in there supports our stress regulation. It helps with our anti-inflammatory responses. It supports really resilience towards any kind of stress that kids may have. And then the rosemary is the mental focus, and it really helps also to support the immune system. And the thing I like the most about Kids Mood Plus is it tastes really good. And so it's got prebiotics in there. It's got a sweetener blend that has some xylitol, some erythritol, orange, grapefruit, lemon, vanilla, turmeric, citric acid, all these delicious flavors that go in to Kids Mood Plus. And so I mean, I can't even give it any higher endorsement than that. And before we were on this call, you and I were talking about the importance of vitamin supplementation. So talk to me about what's so important about getting a vitamin supplement into children.
So many things. You keep asking these questions that have so many answers. One of the things with a lot of kids is nutrition, first of all. So, getting enough nutrition in our bodies, in their little bodies, is very important, and sometimes can be very, very difficult. So, any way you can supplement nutrition for us or them is to use a supplement. And you know, you were just talking about the Kids Mood Plus, and the Kids Mood Plus, you were talking about the turmeric that's in there, which is actually the curcumin in the turmeric, which is what helps, and it helps with systemic inflammation. So when you can get that inflammation down, people calm down. But when we're talking about noetropics, we're talking about vitamin B, we're talking about my brain just went blank with the noetropics.
So we have
Caffeine is a noetropic.
yeah.
Lychee fruit is a noetropic. And full of vitamins, So when you're eating these things, you're decreasing your inflammation, which helps with a lot of different things. So, do you want me to just go into like gut brain stuff? Because
Well, I think before we go there, let's just clarify. So noetropics are a class of supplements, also drugs that improve
also food.
food that improve our cognition, as well as our ability to relax, and our ability. So it's like cognitive function, but also promoting relaxation. And so noetropics help to boost mood. They boost executive function, attention, memory, creativity, motivation. And I think within Amare's product line, I think our kind of go-to noetropic is either going to be Edge or Energy Plus. But to your point, it's also in the kids Vita GBX because we have some really good vitamins in there that also help us to focus and to relax. We have, magnesium that can help us to relax. We have our B vitamins, which help with focus, and they also are just so critical for the entire function of the body. Like I think of vitamin B6 in kids Vita GBX, and you have the B vitamin that participates in more chemistry than any other B vitamin in the entire body. And I really love the kids Vita GBX because it's appropriately dosed for kids, right? It's broad spectrum, more than 50 different vitamins, minerals, amino acids. And I mean, let's talk about amino acids. We're saying we're going to use Kids Mood Plus because it's going to help boost serotonin and dopamine. But if you don't have amino acids there, you can't build the serotonin and dopamine anyways. And so, yes, so the Kids Vita GBX, 50 plus of the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that really help with every single body system. We have things that are good for our eyes, for our bones, for our skin, nails, heart health. And then I think most importantly to the discussion today is everything that helps with our brain health as well. And so, yeah, absolutely. So now we'll go and we'll talk about how the gut and the brain work together in kids and help them to regulate their mood and really just excel at school and at sports and at all the things that they do.
So one of the reasons that when somebody comes to me and says that they're having they or their children, because sometimes as adults we have behavioral issues too. But one of the first questions that I ask them is, how's their diet? And it's very important because you can get bacterial overgrowth, or you can get candida, or you can get you can have leaky gut. Both of those things lead to leaky gut. You can have so many issues that if you're not getting the nutrition that you need, your body doesn't know, your body makes itself up of what you put in it.
Right.
So if you're putting crap in it, your body's going to try to make itself out of crap. If you're putting good stuff in it, your body's going to try to make itself up of those good things.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a buildup of the wrong bacteria in your gut, you're not going to be able to signal to your brain. If you have an overgrowth of candida, it's going to smother you're not going to be able to create those hormones that need to get to your brain, such as serotonin, dopamine, GABA, like all of those things that help to calm us down.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a perforated gut lining, then you're going to have leakage to places, and that's going to cause systemic inflammation. That's going to cause a breakdown of that gut-brain axis. It's also going to cause leaky brain, which it's the same thing. It's the breakdown of the blood-brain barrier, which allows for like cytokines and things like that to get into your brain, and that causes inflammation of the brain, which also causes neurological issues, which also cause behavioral issues. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very cyclical.
Right. Yes, it is very cyclical, and everything is connected, right? Everything's super connected. And then so what are some of the ways? So you mentioned that it's not just about supplementation, but I do want to cover the kids fundamentals, which can help to support the gut brain axis and the immune system. But what are some of your other favorite ways that you support the gut brain axis in kids, and how do you get them on board to like eat the food and do the things that you're wanting them to do?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the level of it depends on at the level of which you're trying to get them to engage, but make it fun. One, movement. Get kids love to move. Like my daughter used to not eat when she was little. She would not eat, would not eat, would not eat. I'd put the plate down in front of her and she just didn't want to do it. I found out if I put the plate on the floor and let her jump up on the couch and like walk the couch as she was eating, she would eat. She'd come over, get the food, go back up, walk across, come back down, get the food. So make it a game. Don't be so rigid. Like, don't take life so seriously.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a thing. It's just a couch. It's just, whatever you have to do to get your kids to eat is ideal. Whatever you have to do to get your kids to move, because that's very, very important. When you're talking about your digestive system and your circulatory system and like all of the things, your lymphatic system, like all of these things need movement. They require you to move. So if if your kid wants to run around while they're eating, let them.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to keep food in every room of your house, do it.
But then
Grapes.
where's the like boundary, right? Like, because you still want your kids to be able to go out to dinner and not be insane. Like, how do you also, while fostering this sense of creative energy, also get a kid to understand like there are times when we must sit at the table,
Rules and boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And that's a different ball game. So if we're talking about if your kid won't eat, you're probably not going to try to make them eat at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to give them something else to do to engage, which is fine. I've gone with families to restaurants where, with children who would typically not sit for more than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have to learn how to play games with them. So, if screen time is something that keeps them calm, you start with that, or you have them earn it. And this is, it's a give and take. So, what I have done on multiple occasions is we sit down. The child sits on the inside, not the outside, because rapid escape is inevitable, right? Um, so you say, okay, 5 minutes with the screen, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you set a timer, and it's a timer that they're accustomed to seeing. So you're like, okay, 5 minutes, my turn. And then you take the thing and then you engage with them. Do you want broccoli or do you want mashed potatoes? Or do you want, give them again the choices. And then you're doing so good. I'm so proud of you. Here, 5 more minutes. And then you
Right.
give them 5 more minutes with the screen time. So you're teaching them to engage, but you're also teaching them that if I engage, I don't have to engage for 6 hours. I don't
Uh-huh.
have to sit in this crowded, overstimulating room and give you what you want. You're teaching them that they have an out, and this is your out.
Okay. That's very cool. I like it. I like it a lot. So, what's your favorite things about the kids fundamentals?
I think my favorite thing about it is that it has elements of sync and focus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
because you have to be able to sync that gut brain axis, and we don't want to keep giving our kids, here's this supplement, swallow this pill, swallow that thing. um, it's all in there. What a lot of people are calling it is the kids happy juice,
Uh-huh.
and it does make them happy. It's got the probiotics in it. It's got the sync. It's got the focus. It's got all of the things that make it a very that it's one supplement that has a very systemic approach or
Yes.
application.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's very different than mentobiotics. I think a lot of people, we think kids fundamentals is just a lower dose of mentobiotics, but that's not exactly true, because yes, it has the same bacteria, yes, it has the same fibers, but it also contains all of the well-immune beta glucans that modulate the immune system that we see in Mentasync. And then just like we see in Mentabiotics, there's also that proprietary blend of the Asian apple extract, the French grapeseed extract, and the New Zealand pine bark extract, which are all super anti-inflammatory, which is kind of like going back from whence we came. About all of these bad behaviors tend to be a result of nervous system inflammation, and whether that is caused by crappy food, toxins in the home, lack of exercise, whatever is causing it, we need to learn to course correct it, And so I love the kids fundamentals because it can help to reduce cortisol, increase dopamine, increase our serotonin, help with the nervous system inflammation, improve our GABA signaling, and very similar to Mentabiotics, it has matched prebiotics that are directly feeding the exact probiotics. And so I really love all of that, but then you just have that additional boost of the well-immune yeast. I love that. So product usage, I'm learning, is so cool. I think, yes, absolutely. So Tina, welcome. I hope we're teaching you something about all the products. The Kids Fundamentals is a little bit sweeter than Mentabiotics. Adults can take Kids Fundamentals. I think all of us on this call take Kids Mood Plus because it's completely epic. And I tend to really like the Kids Vitamin as well. It doesn't bum me out. It's got a really good flavor. So yes, all of the Kids Mood Plus. So, all right, Bobbi, anything that you want to throw in? I think that we kind of have wrapped up. Oh, we were going to mention the 5R protocol, because as much as we love Amare, it's not just about supplements. It has to be about lifestyle. So if you head to lindseyelmore.com/5R, you can download a free ebook that goes through the 5 R's that it takes to heal leaky gut. And the first one is removing all the gut triggers. Then if, whoever invited you here today recognizes that you maybe have a kid that you want to help and that you want to see thriving in a way that they're not currently. And so that is where we repopulate the gut with good prebiotics and probiotic fibers. Then we use our Kids Vita GBX to help replace what has been lost. In the Kids Fundamentals, there is an ingredient, theanine, that really helps the lining of the gut. It also will, because you're decreasing cortisol and inflammation, it's also going to help to heal all of that and help that to close up effectively. And then the last thing we have to do is really ensure that we're teaching children how to manage their own stress. So take us out and just give us a couple of minutes about stress reduction tactics in kids.
Well, there again are many ways. Depends on your child.
Yes.
Communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is one of the main ways to reduce stress in your child. So if we're talking about transitions, if we're talking about, leaving the house or leaving mom or, any of those kind of things, communicating, I'm going to drop you off here. You're going to do the thing. I'm going to pick you up. And giving them structure, giving them a routine. That's very, very important. Also making sure that they understand, if you're going to be late to something, tell them I'm going to be late.
Right.
And then that way they know to expect that. Warning them ahead of time about transitions. If you're in school, for example, we're in 10 minutes we're going to PE. In 5 minutes, we're going to PE. Okay, 2-minute wrap up. We're getting ready to go to PE. And so that they have a countdown and they know how much time that they have. Giving them structure as far as like a daily schedule, especially on weekends when there's the lack of routine that you have in school. So you know, if your child needs that structure and that rigidity, giving them your daily routine. We're going to get up, we're going to have breakfast, we're going to watch this TV show. You have, you know, 30 minutes of screen time. We're going to go outside, we're going to play the piano, and then we're going to do whatever.
Mhm.
Just making sure that if they need that structure and that rigidity, that they have it, whether it be in written form, in verbal form, sometimes pictures help. Um, if they're meeting new people, giving them a picture of that person in advance. So brand new teacher, this is your teacher, this is Miss Lindsay, she's going to be your teacher for the day or whatever. If there's going to be a substitute teacher, letting them know in advance if that's a possibility. If there's going to be a fire drill, letting them know in advance. Those kind of things, those really kind of help to decrease the amount of stress that the kids have because they already know what's coming.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So just really just trying to get to know your kid is what
Yes.
it really sounds like, is like the bottom line. And then if you know, if you are someone who is wanting to help your kid, you can talk to the person who brought you to this meeting. Or if you got here because I told you about the meeting, head to lindseyelmore.com/amare, and that will save you $10 off. Highly recommend. Get the Kids Pack Plus, because the whole family is going to want Kids Mood Plus. And so yes. So, Bobbi, thank you so much for being here with us today. We will chat again soon. We will be back next Thursday. And I believe we're talking about sugar addiction as we head into sugar season. We have some upcoming meetings about neuroplasticity, balancing hormones after menopause, all of the things. And so we will see you again for our science class next Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Adios, everybody.